Good morning, welcome. Yesterday, today for Wednesday, the 20th of February, 2019, I guess. It's Wednesday, we're halfway through the week, so we're getting there. Today, in Yesterday, today, we're going to go back to Saturday, the 20th, and we're going to be going quite modern. I say modern, 1943. So it's bang on in the middle of World War II. So as you'd expect, a lot of the focus was on that. So this is from the Marylebone Mercury. Blackout offenders. Miss Carrie Levy of Palace Court, Bayswater, was fined 40 shillings at Marylebone on a summons for causing a light to be displayed during the blackout at the address. This article then goes on to add further offenders, and it lists about 10 names of people and how much they were fined for breaking the blackout, basically. And they're all listed by name. And I thought it was quite fascinating, when you consider the idea of the community pulling together during World War II and, doing your part at home and all of that. This probably would have been pretty embarrassing and quite, a social stigma to be called out publicly for breaking the blackout. So, it was a real you didn't, clearly you didn't break that blackout if you could. Anyway, in the centre of the page, there's a large advert when it's an unusual angle on a fundraising campaign. The sky's the limit in Paddington's Wing for Victory Week, March the 6th to the 13th, 1943. Don't miss the target, £750,000. Hit it with all your might. You can bomb Germany by saving sixpence, so don't spend it, lend it. Give the RAF its victory wings. I thought that was quite... the language used in the paper at the time was quite, a lot worse than that in many cases. But I just thought, you can bomb Germany by saving sixpence. It's quite, well, yeah, it says a lot. One of the interesting things from the older newspapers, a lot of the Victorian newspapers that we've been dealing with recently, a lot of the ads for the snake oils and such are sort of been replaced by people selling seeds and gardening tools. And there's sort of hosts of government ministries giving you novel ways to reuse things. It's a fairly typical advert that's dealing with a new recipe. Sponge pudding made with potato. What a good idea, you'll say, when you've tried this excellent flour-saving recipe for sponge pudding. This is just many of the ways potatoes can be used to take the place of flour in puddings, cakes and pastry. Try it and experiment with other ways yourself. More good suggestions later. 1. Serve potatoes for breakfast on 3 days a week. 2. Make your main dish a potato dish 1 day a week. 3. Refuse second helpings of other food. Have more potatoes instead. 4. Serve potatoes in other ways, other than plain boiled. And this is fairly common, a sort of whatever is growing at the time or growing well at the time, and they've got an abundant, they find that people have got an abundance of, just becomes eat it constantly. That's all you've got. It's quite interesting. So like I said, there's a lot of adverts for novel ways of reusing things, and so the narrative sort of changes from the overabundance of the Victorian, sort of late Victorian period, to the very stripped back ways during the war. And here's a shady looking advert that kind of deals with that, if ever I've seen one. Wanted. Dead or worn out horses, cattle, sheep and pigs. Collected free of charge. Phone Derby 2691. Now, I'm sure there's a good reason for wanting a host of dead animals, but I wonder if whoever put that advert in, they might have done a bit better if they'd explained the purpose of the ad itself, because otherwise it just comes across a little bit sinister. So if anyone knows Dad's Army, it was an old British TV programme. I think they remade it into a film recently, but I didn't watch it. But it was an old TV programme. It dealt with the home front and the sort of older gentlemen who were too old to serve in the war, but they wanted to do their part, so they would train up and sort of be as like a kind of last guard, like a civilian's, like last guard against an invasion, I guess. Sort of like a reserves, like a voluntary reserve kind of thing. Anyway, in the show Dad's Army, it's all very catastrophic. And here's a real life story that is straight out of Captain Mannering's crew. Stamped on hand grenade. The General Officer Commanding-in-Chief, Western Command, Lieutenant General E.A.C. Schreiber, desires to express his appreciation of the courage and presence of mind displayed by Lieutenant Yaxley of the 4th Marionetshire Home Guard. During a live grenade throwing practice, a Home Guard dropped a grenade onto the floor of the throwing lane, which was covered with mud, and the grenade got stuck with the lever released. Realising that there was no time to pick up the grenade and throw it over the parapet, Lieutenant Yaxley, who was acting as instructor, stamped it into the ground with his heel while the thrower got clear. He himself had no time in which to get into safety, so he threw himself onto the ground opposite the grenade until it exploded. And there's no mention that anyone got injured in that, so it's just an absolute farce, like an absolute calamity of an experience. So let's definitely say straight out of Dad's Army that. And we're going to end on a little poem that was sent in by Flight Sergeant Lee Sherry. When everything is rationed and you're just one coupon short, it's sometimes very hard to stop from making a sharp retort. You find it very trying when shopping round about, but it's really no use crying when the shopman says we're out. But one thing isn't rationed. It will last you many a day if you will only try to give a smile or two away. So there you go. I was trying to do that with a straight face, but it's difficult. There you go. Give a smile or two away today, and you'll never know what good things might come your way. So that was yesterday. Here's today. No, this is today. Cheers. Thanks for listening.